Welcome to Stage Explorations, where we interview the theater creatives and artists from the theater world, those who perform on stage that the audience sees, and those behind the theater stage that the audience almost never sees. I am a journalist and theater fan, Blvd Brown, and today's guest is...
Hi, I'm Jon Peterson, Executive Artistic Director of P3 Theater Company, producer and performer in MGM in Concert. If you want to hear more about our exciting show, make sure you watch this video. Summer of 1992, I was doing a production of Camelot at the Mountain Playhouse in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. And it was during that production that I knew I had to be a part of the theater. I will never forget it. It was opening night or the second night of the show, and the actors came on stage for the curtain call. I was part of the ensemble, so we came out first, and that curtain went up for the curtain call, and there was this little old lady sitting in the front row, and when that curtain came up, she shot to her feet with tears pouring down her face. And seeing that and seeing how I had been a part of something that could invoke that type of excitement and emotion from somebody, that was how I knew that I was where I was supposed to be. The live theater experience is a unique one in that what the audience gets is something that can only be given one time. You could be doing the same production. We'll just pick one random production. We'll say Evita. You could do the performance of Evita and the audience reacts to that and they get that experience, but that same audience and those same actors could do the same thing the next night, and that experience is going to be different. It's going to be different because everybody in the audience will have had a different day than what they had before, so how they react to what they see is going to be slightly different. And the actors, while giving very consistent performances, they're going to have different types of energy and things going on from them personally. Little mishaps can happen. Certain things can be a little more exciting one night than the other, or less exciting as the case may be. But it's a unique experience, something you will only ever be able to experience one time in that exact way. P3 Theater Company is a local, professional, nonprofit theater company that has a mission to create employment for creatives, actors, and to bring the arts, quality arts, to the community and make those arts accessible to the entire community. And when people think of or hear P3 Theater Company, I want them to think, wow, they're going to put on a great show. They're going to have great talent with great production values, and I've got to go see that show. So, how did I find out about MGM in Concert? Well, the summers of 1995 and 1996, both summers, I worked on a production of Evita at the Curtain Call Dinner Theater in Tustin, California. And the actress who played Eva Perón was Christy Mauro. At the time, her name was Christy Mauro. That second summer of 96, she came to me at the end of the run and asked me if I would be interested in going to Florida to work on a revue show that she and her dad were a part of. And I remembered her telling me once that everything she ever learned about theater, she learned from her father. And Christy is, and was at the time, and still is, a dynamic performer. I was 26 years old, so I thought, what do I have to lose? I could only learn something by this experience. So they sent me a videotape and an audio cassette tape of this show, MGM in Concert. And before I moved out to Florida to work on this production, I learned all of the music with my little cassette tape, and there was a videotape of the production as it was at that time. And I learned all the choreography and the blocking and the music from fast forwarding and rewinding and fast forwarding and rewinding and practicing. And then I went out to Florida, I want to say it was just before Halloween, 1996. I went out there and we rehearsed for a few weeks, and next thing I knew, I was on stage performing in MGM in Concert, and next thing I knew, it was several years later, and I was still doing that amazing show. So that was in the mid-90s that I moved to Florida to work on MGM in Concert. Like I mentioned, I worked on that show for several years, and then I went on to do other things. I moved to New York, I moved to Texas. 2010, I moved back to California, only to find that Christy Mauro, who was now Christy Mauro-Cohen, and her father, Tony Santamauro, who was the other performer in MGM in Concert and the creator of MGM in Concert, they had also moved out to California. So I thought that was the coolest thing, and I thought, wow, we should really do this again sometime. And next thing I know, Christy contacted me and said, hey, would you be interested in doing a production, a performance of MGM in Concert for a fundraiser for my church? I want to say that was maybe around 2013, maybe. I don't know. The date, as I get older, the dates get a little more jumbled in my head. But so we kind of revived the show, and we were excited because we hadn't done it for maybe 5 to 7 years, something along that timeline. Then a couple years after that is when I formed P3 Theater Company. So I approached Tony Santamauro, the creator, and Christy, and said, hey, why doesn't our theater company produce MGM in Concert? Let's get this thing going and start performing it on a regular basis again, because it is the crowds love the show, and we love doing the show because the music is just so timeless, and it's such an old school style revue that it's just a feel good all the way around. So back in 2019, which was the year P3 Theater Company was formed, we started doing MGM in Concert again on a regular basis. The MGM musicals and the MGM movie musicals were so popular in their time because there was nothing else being done like that. They were taking these full-scale musicals and putting them up on the big screen and hiring the best of the talent to perform these musicals. And the style of music and the story behind the music and the lyrics, they're so relevant even today. So that's why they will stand the test of time. Truly, we're kind of aging out of that era where people may be familiar with a lot of this music, but if they listen to the lyrics and to the message that's being told, they will be able to relate. Our production of MGM in Concert is a crowd favorite for all ages. The older generation is going to be more familiar with the music. They'll hum along with the tunes, they'll sing along with the lyrics. And as the crowds get younger, they may not be as familiar with the material, but it's fun. It's relevant, it's lighthearted. My 7-year-old and my 9-year-old nieces love the show. They have very little exposure to musicals, but it's so upbeat and catchy tunes and so much fun going on stage that they can't help but get caught up in it. And Tony, I can quote Tony, the creator, saying at one point, if there's even one little song in the show that you're not really a fan of, the show moves so quickly that by the time you realize, oh, I don't really care for this song, it's over. And we're already on to the next song that you're going to love no matter what. So that's just that. And the three of us that are in the show love this material so much, and we get along so well. We're a family. And that reads into the audience. The audience senses our connection, and they get caught up in that, and they become connected with us. So it's really as if they feel they are part of our journey through this music. One of the cool things about this upcoming year with MGM in Concert is that I only recently realized, so I've been doing the show, we've been doing MGM in Concert since 1996. That's 27 years, right? Yeah, 27 years. I sat down and did the math and asked Christy, hey, how old is your dad? And we got to talking, and I realized that next year in 2024, I will be the age that Tony was when I started doing MGM in Concert back in 1996. So that's kind of a really cool full circle thing, if you really think about it. Tony is Christy's dad. He's not a spring chicken. None of us are anymore, let me tell you. Some days we come out of doing the show and we're like, oh my God, that was so much harder than it was 27 years ago, but we love it just as much, if not even more. So as time has gone on, we've realized it's a big feat, and so Tony has stepped down from the show as far as performing on stage with us. He will always be on stage with us, but what we did was we had to go out in search of somebody who could fill the very big shoes that Tony has left for us. So we came across this amazingly wonderful, talented performer and person, Chris Showerman, and he is now part of our MGM family. So our family's just grown by one, and he is just as wonderful as Tony in his own right, because nobody can fill Tony's shoes. There is no Tony Santamauro other than Tony Santamauro. But if somebody had to bring a sense of joy and excitement and talent and fun to this production, Chris Showerman is the one to fill that bill. So now with Chris Showerman joining myself and Christy Mauro-Cohen on the stage, it's a really fun mixture of talent and family. As I mentioned before, Christy and I have been doing this show together and other shows outside of this for over a quarter of a century at this point, and we've got this amazing connection. I mean, she's my older sister. Actually, she's my birthday twin. Christy and I share the same birthday. I won't tell you who's older, but we'll she'll always be prettier than me. That's what matters. And to be able to be on that stage with her and now Chris, it is just a joy. And there's nobody I'd rather sing a love duet with than my birthday twin. For me as a performer, when I am on stage doing MGM in concert, I've said over and over, I've been doing this show for over a quarter of a century. I've never been bored with this show. As I've mentioned over and over again, when you have a live performance, there are two that are not the same. I could wake up one morning and my foot hurts, and I have to perform with a foot that hurts. But the best part about performing is you don't have to think about that foot that hurts while you're on stage entertaining other people and being a part of this live theatrical experience. When I am performing MGM in concert, because I'm so familiar with it, I'm so comfortable with it, and I really, truly enjoy performing this music, I don't have any troubles when I'm on stage for that 90 minutes that this show is happening. I'm literally caught up in the musicality. With David Cohen playing this music, our amazing musical director and accompanist, there is no accompanist I've ever worked with in my life that is like David Cohen. And it's always a comfort zone. It's a happy place. And I just get so swept up in the lyrics too. It's not just about sounding good and performing for people, but it's about interpreting stories and telling stories and sharing these stories and music with our audiences. So I am just literally like on a different planet when I'm performing this, and just really enjoy the heck out of it. For the theater patron that comes to see MGM in concert, first and foremost, I want them to have fun, to enjoy their time, to relish in this beautiful music. I'm hoping that there will create a sense of nostalgia for those who are familiar with a lot of this music, and to introduce younger generations to this style of music and musical. But really, overall, it is just to have fun and to take people away from everything that's going on in the real world and to offer a sense of levity and joy. And I want to see smiles when people walk out of that theater. In general, my favorite part of MGM in concert, for me, I'm not your leading man type. I'm bald. Not as thin as I used to be. So when I get cast in shows, I'm always the funny guy. I'm always the sidekick, which is a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. But what I like about MGM in concert is I get to sing all the pretty music. And I was classically trained as a singer, so I get to tap into that technique and that style of sounding really pretty and singing beautiful songs. And really, anytime I am singing a duet, a love duet with Christy, it's just fun and warm, and we have a great connection. No, we are not in love with each other. She's got a husband. I'm gay. But just getting to do that and create those characters song by song. And I have to say, one of my favorites that I sing with her is So in Love from Kiss Me, Kate. It's such a beautiful. Cole Porter is an amazing composer. And that song, with the harmonies that we are doing, we have such a blend and a connection that is amazing. Now, on the other hand, I do like to be fun and silly. And Chris Showerman and I have some great fun times together. Brush Up Your Shakespeare is also from Kiss Me, Kate. And it's a silly, fun character type song. So those are really my two favorite moments in the show. Solo, I get a lot of great solo work in this show, and it's just to sit back and relish in it is amazing and fun. But singing with the two of them, each with the different styles of music, is the best. Our theater-going audiences must come see MGM in concert because it is such a unique take in a throwback style of musical revue that is rarely done anymore, and performed by four incredible talents. Myself, of course. Christy Mauro-Cohen and Christopher Showerman share the stage with me, and we are supported by the amazing piano talent of David Scott Cohen. You put the four of us together, and it's just going to be a good time. One of the cool things about MGM in concert is that we have performed this show in tiny little clubhouses, even almost meeting room type spaces, and we've also performed it on 2,000-seat theaters, big proscenium stages. So this show can play just about any space. We do have the show playing in different theaters around Orange County and LA counties, and as I've said, I would love to see that expand. But the show is also available for us to perform at different facilities, different centers for potentially for fundraising events, corporate parties. So it's not just a show that we have to do in a theater by itself and perform for specific audiences. It can be done in any type of setting. My hope long-term for MGM in concert is that we can have multiple iterations of this production where we have different casts out performing it really nationwide would be fantastic. I'd love to get a touring company going. I would love to get this show on the cruise ships. This type of show would be so welcome on cruise lines. And I would just love to have it going on a regular basis and be bringing this music and this particular production to audiences all over. This is Jon Peterson, Executive Artistic Director and founder of P3 Theater Company. For more information on MGM in concert, be sure to visit our website at www.p3theater.biz. That's P3theatre.biz. See you at the theater.
Welcome to Stage Explorations, where we interview the theater creatives and artists from the theater world, those who perform on stage that the audience sees, and those behind the theater stage that the audience almost never sees. I am a journalist and theater fan, Blvd Brown, and today's guest is...
Hi, I'm Christy Mauro-Cohen. I am a performer and a co-director of MGM in Concert. I'm giving an interview, and I would love for you to come and listen to the interview if you want to hear more about this fabulous show.
When did you first follow theater, and then why did you have to be part of the theater world?
Why did I have to be? Well, I was raised by a musical theater father from the time I came out of the womb. And we did shows together from the time I was little. And he had me watching late at night, because there was no VHS tapes or anything, no streaming devices, whenever they came on television, the old MGM musicals. And I became obsessed with wanting to sing and dance and look at the acting and the costumes and everything so beautiful that I just became obsessed with it. And I knew I had to be a part of it. So I ventured out in school, where you start, you get in the theater department, the drama department, and I just started acting in every show I could act in school through the years. And then I went to some professional auditions and did very well. And I ended up getting to play some of the roles that I dreamed about doing when I was little, from all the stuff my father showed me and taught me.
When did your acting, singing go from an interest to a true obsession?
From an interest, probably, my father used to write shows for a high school. And I remember I was very young. I was probably 11 or 12 years old. And that was the first time in a show. I was on stage before that with him, doing little cabaret kind of stuff. But that was the first time I was in a show. And I played Annie. It was a show about a bunch of different Broadway musicals intertwining. And I played Annie. And I stepped out on that stage, and the audience and the energy it gave me, and I just knew I needed more of this. I wanted more of this, and I loved it so much. And that's what it was in the beginning. But as I continued doing it, then it became more about delving into these characters and feeling what the character was supposed to feel, and that felt good too. And then I couldn't stop. Then I was, every audition, I had to get on stage, and I had to be in a part, a role. It just felt normal, natural, and just like eating, exercising, playing, going through. It was part of my life. There was no other. I've been lucky to never have done something else but this. So it's part of me.
The theater experience, why is it such a unique format for both the audience and the actors?
Why is it such a unique experience? Well, having been an audience member and having been on the stage, I kind of answered the question of on the stage. I get to experience another life, another character, separate from the way I am, which is just, it's incredible. It's a wonderful gift to do that. But also seeing it, the same kind of thing. Almost when you read a book and you delve into these characters, you get to see somebody you get to go on their journey with them. And the better they do it, the more it just fills you. I saw Les Mis, the original version, when I was very young on Broadway. And just to answer your question about an audience member, as a young girl seeing that for the first time, I was fourth row center, I was moved to tears. I was just sobbing. So it was in a happy way, in an emotional way. It can take you on a journey. It can also, relieve you from the ills of life. If you go to something happy, it will change you. You cannot stay angry and listen to a happy tune or a happy character doing something funny and enjoyable. So,
Do you want to talk about how even if you go see the same group performance again, how you may still get a different experience because theater is never the same every time?
Oh, well, yeah, definitely. Thank you for guiding me in that direction. I do prefer theater over film for that reason. the joy of the not knowing, not getting the retake, and all the crazy things that can happen and how you learn to come together as a cast and deal with those things. Oh, I have had some crazy things happen to me on stage. I have walked out as Lori in Oklahoma, said my first line, and my skirt fell to the floor. and these are all equity productions, professional. It can happen. It's not necessarily, they always say, oh, that's community theater. No, it happens on Broadway. Sound going out completely and having to come up with a song and learn to do your Ethel Merman projection, you know, on how do you deal with things? And that's so fun. How can you get out of these little things and make them work? And the audience, on the audience's side, because you asked me that, they feel for you. They almost open their hearts more to you when they see that you're, oh, she is actually a human giving us this production. We're not watching a screen. We're watching a live person. And you react from that too, and you're in it together. So it's very cool.
Why are musicals even more unique to the audience?
They're more unique to me, I'd say. I mean, there are people who would not enjoy musicals. But my same answer would be, I think music in general can change bad to good. And it can bring back memories. It can help you think clearly if you're not thinking clearly. It opens your mind. Music is so important for humanity. And I think going to a musical, whether it's no matter what the subject, if it's sad or happy or whatever, you still leave there humming the tune in your head or moved in some dramatic way. It moves things, just for me, in a better way than a play would. I enjoy that break, and I feel that music sets more emotion behind your feelings. Yeah, so I enjoy it very much.
Tell us about P3 Theater Company. Why do you like working with them, and why do you think it's unusual, unique theater?
Well, before P3 ever existed, my dear friend Jon Peterson, that we met back in the early 90s doing theater together, and he's younger than me. He loves to say that too. He's younger than me, and he was just a chorus boy dancing sweetly in the chorus of a show I was in, and we just hit it off and became very close. We share the same birthday, and he's such an emotional and wonderful human being who really cares about the actors. He's not in it just for the business. He just loves it. He'll give all he has to make sure that show goes on. A lot of theaters they're into the financial, and there's something to be said for that. You have to keep it going, but he'll go even to the fault of that because he cares so much about performing. So he is P3, that man. And you get that from him. So you want to give your all. You want to be there past what's asked of you, because you fall in love with the man who loves you back just as much, because he loves actors and singers and performers so much. And he does his best to make sure it's going to get heard, it's going to get seen. So it is a very unique theater in that respect. And he's hands-on. He's there all the time, and he is the head, which you usually don't get to see. You see the director he hired, you see the choreographer he hired, but no, you see Jon Peterson all the time, and he's wonderful. And his theater's wonderful, and I just hope it keeps going on and on and on. And I think it means you're going to see pieces that mean something to him, and actors he hired that believe in the project just as much. He does unique projects. The Doris Day show, the MGM show, they all are very unique pieces, but they're also very personal to the writers. And he knows this, he feels this, and he wants to share what he feels, what he's getting from the pieces to his audiences. And sometimes they won't even be the most popular choice to put on, but he feels it. So again, his cast feels it, and then the audience feels it.
Tell me when MGM originally was created, Tell us about the Florida part, and then tell us about this renewal with P3 Theater.
Okay. It started back on the other coast. My father writes a lot of shows. He wrote the Doris Day Show, but back then he was writing a lot of revues. And one of the most successful was the MGM one. They have a condominium circuit there. Gorgeous theaters, 1,000-seat theaters with balconies, theaters that are right out of Broadway. And you can work that you used to be able to. I don't know how it's going on now, but back then, and I would say we are going now into 1986, 87. It was hot. The market was hot. You could do 16 shows in 1 month, and it was wonderful houses. But the MGM show, I was very young, fresh out of high school, and we started doing that version with a different cast, clearly, in these condos. And it became very popular. It kept running. And then I moved out to LA separate. So we put a stop on it. And Jon, I came out here to do Evita, where I told you I met Jon from P3, head of P3. He and I became friends, and when we were done here in LA and wanted to go back to Florida, I talked him into coming with me and being my roommate, and said, you have to meet my father and you have to work with him. It'll be a very unique experience for you. You're going to love it. And it happened to be the MGM show that he wanted to remount. And so with a very young Jon Peterson, we started again, and a very pregnant me, we started again at that time. And again, success all over again there. And we did it for as long as we could until Jon wanted to go somewhere else and I wanted to go somewhere else. My dad would have kept doing it. It was successful and could have still been running today, I'm even thinking there. But we still had to grow. We were younger, so we still went to different places. And then meeting Jon here, he called me. I put together a company. I want to do a show. I want you to star in it. And I was like, oh my God, yes, of course. And after we finished that show, Jon said, you know, one of my greatest experiences and my greatest learning experience was doing shows with your dad. That MGM show really changed me, really opened me up, made me see how to handle different things in this business. He said, could we do that here? And I said, absolutely, that would be great, Jon, oh my gosh. And we called my dad, who was living in Florida, and he moved out here, and we mounted MGM again. We started doing that again. And then, of course, different projects, different things. I believe Jon left town for a little bit to go do something, left the country to go do something, but he came right back. And again, he says, let's do MGM in concert. But now my dad was aging. I was actually the age of my dad when he was doing it back then. And so he needed to pass the hat. And we found Chris Showerman. Nobody could do it better than Chris Showerman. He's just got it in his soul. He knows how to do the magic that my dad did when he performed. And he's just a joy to work with, and we're back again. We're doing it again. It's a show that I think is just gonna live and live and live on forever.
For people who don't know what MGM Concert is, tell us what MGM Concert, the whole thing is, what it is.
What it is? Well, it's just an honorary tribute to the old MGM musicals and Broadway shows produced by MGM. Some of the best music, the best stars that existed, and that time was just magical. That same feeling some people have when they go to Disney World, the purity, it's just like we're in a magical place. Nothing can harm us or hurt us here in this world. Well, that same feeling is in this MGM concert, is hearing this music and talking about these old artists, Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly, Judy Garland. It's endless. That was a time where we felt safe. We felt safe. You would lose yourself in that beautiful, imaginary, wonderful world, magical world, I would say. Yeah, so that's why. Makes you feel good. Why does the audience? Yep, exactly what I said. It's an escape from reality. You go to a magical place, no matter what the subject matter is. And you get to release, especially nowadays. People are under a lot of stress, a lot of, and it gets rid of all your woes and ills. You just lose yourself in that magical world. It's a fan favorite because it just makes you feel so good and safe. And you just enjoy that wonderful time you have. And you'll end up walking out wanting to be nice to other people, wanting to do good things. It puts you in a really good place in life.
What do you look for when you are performing live MGM in concert?
What do I look for? Honestly, I want smiley faces actually responding to me because that elevates an actor's performance, whether the actor knows it or not. It just happens. It's not voluntary, the response. You see people enjoying themselves and having a good time, and you get elevated. Your endorphins start going up, 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 and then you don't know what's going to happen. And I love that feeling of going, yes, we have the structured project, but where can I take this with the audience just a little bit more? It's fun that way, yeah. That's what I would look for, how the audience is going to respond to make the performance have a different way to it, in a sense.
What is your favorite part or song in MGM concert?
For Jon, I would say it's Over the Rainbow. He loves when I sing Over the Rainbow. I like the fun moments. I like Annie, Get Your Gun when we're doing the arguing song. I can do something better than you. I like that kind of stuff, and I love the choreography. I love doing steps in unison. That feeling of when we all three come together really fills me up. When we're all doing something, and you get that extra energy, and you're all in it together. Yeah. You can get more in, and I think you don't want it to go longer than 90 minutes because it's a ride you take, and I wouldn't want, everybody gets tired after some time, and you're enjoying and enjoying, and you're lifting and you're lifting and you're lifting, and I think it's just perfectly comes to that ending where you've been lifted to that ultimate excitement, and now you can relax and go, and it's wonderful. If you take it to where you've lifted in that energy so high, and then you keep going, even though it's good, it doesn't even matter if it's the greatest thing you've ever seen, I think it would be too long. So I think the length for the cabaret shows is perfect at 90 minutes, and I love doing shorter versions of the songs because you can put more of the beautiful material in there, the wonderful material. Different with a musical script, a show. Like I could sit in Les Mis, it's 3 hours long, I love that. That's different because you're with a character. It's like reading a book. So yeah, that's why I think it's perfect the way it is. Jon and I go way back. We have the same birthday. We are just dear friends. I love him so much. He's a wonderful, wonderful person. His family is wonderful. He comes from a very good family. That is why he's such a wonderful person. I truly believe that. And we just both have the same goals. We want to just give and give and give to the theater world in any way we can. We like to perform, we like to put on shows, we like to direct shows, choreograph shows, and so we're on the same page with that, very much so. And I hope to continue. I hope to know him all the way on this whole ride, just never not know who he is as a person. I always want to be in his life. And Chris Showerman is, this is the first show I've actually had the experience of working with Chris Showerman, but he comes in like a light. He's just a wonderful, wonderful person, highly talented, and just super sweet, super sweet. What you're seeing when you meet him, that's him. He's not faking it. He doesn't change who he is. He's just a wonderful, wonderful person, big time talent. And he reminds me of my dad when he was young, because he's willing to take chances. He does crazy things, just like my dad, goes in the audience, messes with the people, great ad-libber. And I look forward to continuing shows with him. It's just very fun to work with, very nice man.
Why must, or you can say should, why must the theater community, MGM fans, and music lovers go see MGM in concert?
Well, I just think, again, to feel good, but the actual performers who come to see it can learn how to sometimes break that third wall and meet your audience and work with them and see how sometimes it doesn't have to be so perfect as long as you're giving 100% of your heart when you're up there. I think you can learn a lot from it and then take that with you, like Jon said he did. And I did. I certainly learned a lot doing those kind of things. I'm much more adaptable to situations in this theater world that might cause somebody to have a nervous breakdown. I can handle it. I'm not, I can't go on. Those things were wiped away doing this kind of a show, because you learn, why are we doing this? We're doing this because we love it and it's fun. And this show reminds you of that.
What would you tell other actors, directors, and playwrights and theater creatives why they should get involved in P3 theater?
For the reason, actually, I said earlier as well. You're dealing with a very unconventional theater company, because Jon is coming first from the love of the project rather than the business and the earning of the money. Of course, he wants to make money. We all work and need money. But his first approach to it is, that sounds fantastic. We're going to do what it takes to get it on. We're going to get the right people to do it. And we're going to get it right, and we're going to come with our hearts with the project. And the audience will see that, because you can't not see that. And your project will be loved. So it's a great place to come for that reason.
Is there anything else you want to mention about MGM concert that I haven't asked?
No, just come see it and have a great time with us, because we're having a great time up there. And remember, what it used to be like, what's brought it to what's today, and yeah, sometimes it's great to look into the past to enjoy the future a little bit more. Hi, I'm Christy Mauro-Cohen. I am the performer and co-director of MGM in Concert, which is now being produced and put on by the P3 Theater Company and Jon Peterson. And we are doing this fabulous MGM show, just a throwback to the wonderful, pure, magical, safe time, great music. And we love what we're doing, and we know you will love what you're doing. So come on out and see our show. See you in the theater.
Welcome to Stage Explorations, where we interview the theater creatives and artists from the theater world, those who perform on stage that the audience sees, and those behind the theater stage that the audience almost never sees. I am a journalist and theater fan, Blvd Brown, and today's guest is...
Hi, I'm Christopher Showerman. If you want to learn more about MGM in Concert, you're going to love this next conversation.
When did you first fall in love with theater, and then why did you have to be part of the theater world?
My first taste of theater, I was 5 years old, and I was cast by my kindergarten teacher as the biggest billy goat in the Three Billy Goats Gruff. And I wasn't quite sure what I was doing in the moment, but people were laughing and clapping, and I thought, whatever this is, I want more of that. So that's how I got started in theater. My mom was a music teacher, and so we were always performing. Mostly she was a piano teacher, and so we would play piano and get our performance fixed that way. But then being introduced to acting was a whole nother level of, actually being being more the instrument itself as opposed to playing an instrument.
When did you fall in love with acting and singing, and when did it go from an interest to an obsession?
I was always in love with performing, and I've always had a degree of stage fright, right? A degree of anxiety about being in front of a crowd. And if ever I'm doing a performance and I don't have that, that's when I really get nervous, because that's the energy that shows, oh, you care. This is going to be a good show if you have those butterflies before the show. And I love that feeling. I've actually grown to love that feeling. I love the feeling of connecting with an audience, and that, of course, you only get with live performance. And the audience knows it too. It's magical. It doesn't always happen, but it's magic when you're all on the same page and you say something and they respond exactly how you thought they might, or they respond completely differently, and it catches you off guard. It's this constant conversation between you on stage and the audience's reaction to it, and that is magical. That is what makes me passionate about live performance.
I think you just answered my next question. Theater experience why it's such a unique format, right?
Theater is such a unique format because it is a conversation. We're always putting things out there, and the audience is half of that equation. And the great thing about the way the theater is set up is that the lights are shining on us on stage. So we are the ones that have to deal with the issue of being very aware, very conscious of being seen. You in the audience, or me in the audience, when I'm in the audience, I get to be in the shadows and I get to relax. And I get to truly just be me and relax. So you don't realize that you're part of that conversation, perhaps, when you're in the audience. And it allows you to respond the way that you would if you were in your living room. Hopefully not getting up and going to the bathroom and getting a snack out of the fridge halfway through the second number, but it makes you comfortable enough to have that conversation honestly with the performers on stage.
And why are musicals even more unique to the audience experience?
Musicals are a unique form of entertainment because the music itself, it accesses something in us kind of like the sense of smell. It's something deeper. So music can carry that emotion or can carry that energy that sometimes a straight play doesn't have. Also, too, I feel like music is an anchor for us. So you'll notice a lot of times as folks age and if people have memory loss, sometimes they can't remember stories or even how to say certain things, but if you put it in musical form, magically it accesses another part of the brain that is a little more primal, a little more seated in our being. So I feel like we're able to create those anchors and access those anchors through music.
Tell us when you heard about MGM in concert, and why did you want to be part of this production of P3 Theater Company?
I first heard about MGM in concert through my friend and accompanist at the time, David Scott Cohen. David was saying that he and his wife, Christy, work with Christy's dad, who wrote this show. And Christy's dad is such a unique, amazing human being. He's so creative, and he's written a ton of shows. This happens to be one of them. And David said that Tony, Christy's dad, was getting ready to retire, sadly, from doing the show that he's written and they've done for decades, literally decades, and asked if I wanted to be a part of it. Now, to be honest, I was scared. I was nervous about it because there's only one Tony, and the way that he presents the material is so intrinsic to the show's success. So I said yes because I love David and I love working with David and I love Christy and I was looking forward to this new experience, this new theater experience. And I got a copy of the show. I think the tape was from 1997, so it was a few decades old. And went over every single frame over and over and over again to try to soak in Tony's magic because he's so he's such an exemplary example of connecting with an audience. And clearly, he loves the material so much, and you can't help but fall in love with the material and fall in love with Tony when you watch him do it. So getting to use that material and that reference to see how he did it made me more and more and more excited about getting to do this. And then, finally, I'd been working with just the sheet music and the video for a month or so before I got to work with Christy and Jon and David to put this all together. And getting to do it with those guys, they embody the same thing. They have a passion and a love for each and every song, and they know the history of it all. They know a lot more than I do about where it came from and the musical and the people that were involved in it. And that lit a fire in me as well. Their excitement lights up my excitement. And hopefully, our excitement on stage lights up the audience the same way that it did me. MGM in Concert is a fast-moving musical review of the shows from MGM from the late 30s to the mid-50s. And we rock it through over 70 different songs in a very short amount of time, because we're taking excerpts from each one, and it's like a smorgasbord of delight from an era that we all think back fondly to. And it makes you feel good to be a part of it. It definitely makes us feel good to share it with you. So we're excited for you to come and see it.
Tell me why the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer musical productions are still popular and why they're relevant today.
The MGM in Concert show is still relevant today, even though we're referencing a bygone era, because there's something primal about the music that we do, like the falling in love of Singing in the Rain. We can all relate to that. Or the wonder of A Wizard of Oz. There are so many core feelings that they access with that music, and the music is so well done. And remember, we're referring to a time that no longer exists, where there was it was called the studio system at the time. So an actor would kind of get hired not just for a project like we are today, but for a contract period. And during that contract period, you could do tens, dozens of projects. And in between, if you weren't working on a project, the studio was constantly schooling you. So it was a never-ending college of dance and comedy and singing. So you were constantly honing this craft and getting better. Now, there's lots of talented performers, new performers that are coming out today, but none of them have that background that the studios were built to create, this really unique and precise form of entertainment. So that's relevant today because we don't get that anywhere else.
And why do you think MGM is such a fan favorite? From people who just want to come see it, but people who first find it new and they love it. So why is MGM a fan favorite?
MGM is a fan favorite because I feel like everybody finds what they need to find in the music. There are so many memories that are embedded in these songs, and when we perform them, the stage is pretty sparse. It's an empty stage. We have a few props. There's a piano and the three of us singing. So you as the audience, your imagination can go anywhere that it wants to go. We're not dialing you into one thought or one image. And so, as you know, we're all so different. And that's one of the successes of a radio play, is that everybody can have the experience that their psyche and their brain wants to take them on, based on what's there in the radio play. And the same thing with this music. This music triggers whatever it's going to trigger in you, and everybody finds something different. And that, I think, is why people keep coming back and what makes MGM such a fan favorite.
What do you look for when you're performing live MGM concert?
When I'm doing a live performance of MGM or any other project for that matter, looking for opportunities to create that connection with an audience. And that's the real difference between performing live on stage and performing for a camera. Whereas if you're on set performing for a camera, your audience are the gaffers and the grips and the cameramen who are standing around you, and they're paid to be dead silent. And if they make any noise, they get fired. So you don't get that back and forth, that magic that you do when you're on stage. So when I'm on stage, I look for that communal experience with my friends on stage as well as with the audience outside. And I think Christy mentioned this earlier, when we are having such a good time as a group on stage, it's infectious. If our laugh is a real laugh, or our smile or our banter back and forth is true and genuine, people feel that, and they feel like they're a part of it, because they are, because it's happening now, and it's only happening once, and once this performance is over, it's gone, and the next performance is something different. But that magical thing was something that we all participated in, us, the audience, everybody participated in that moment. And that's what I think makes live theater so special and so unique.
Do you already have a favorite part or song from MGM concert?
Now, I have a ton of favorite parts from MGM in concert. I love all of our group numbers because I love working with them, and Christy and Jon already know the show so well because they've been doing it forever. And so getting to do the choreography with them, every once in a while we put in some harmony together. So getting to do that with them is a favorite of mine, whether on any of our group numbers. I know Christy mentioned some of the stuff from Annie Get Your Gun, which is really fun because it's goofy, it's funny, and we can just let our freak flags fly on that stuff. There's a song called Too Darn Hot that I loved Tony's take on it because he would go out into the audience and truly connect with people and maybe make people feel slightly uncomfortable, but they knew at that point there's no denying that they're part of the show. And so I love getting that opportunity to carry on that torch that Tony started with that tradition as well.
Why must, or you can say should, why must the theater community, MGM fans, and music lovers go see MGM in concert?
You owe it to yourself to come see MGM in concert if you haven't seen it before. There's nothing else available right now that's anything quite like it. It's a concert version of your favorite pieces from favorite memories that MGM has crafted over these decades of a bygone era. And you're not going to find anything that quite matches the magic that you and us together will create when you come to be a part of the audience and of the show of MGM in concert. This is my first experience working with P3 Theatricals and working with Jon Peterson. Jon is so giving. He's, as a performer working with him, I always felt safe, I always felt encouraged, and I always felt like I could take risks with them because I knew that if I fell on my face, it was like, it's okay, we tried it, didn't work, let's move on to something else. P3 Theatricals, and Jon in particular, because he is the company, they go above and beyond to create the most authentic experience they can, both with our shows and with the other shows that Jon produces. I know that he just kills himself 24 hours a day to make these things happen. He's constantly working with productions. When he's not working about them, he's thinking about them, he's raising money for them, and he's making something that's very special and hasn't existed before, will never exist again. So it's this one special time when, if you get the opportunity, you need to check out some of the stuff that's coming out of P3 Theatricals. Hi, I'm Christopher Showerman. I am excited to share with you MGM in concert, and you're going to be excited to be a part of it. You'll go back in time to some of these classic moments in MGM history, those special movies that happened between the late 30s and the mid-50s that give you a certain feeling of security, of safety, of wonder, and of excitement. So come and check out our show. We can't wait to see you there. See you in the theater.
Thank you for listening or watching this podcast episode of Stage Explorations. To learn more about the theater creative and more theater creatives and artists on Stage Explorations, go to www.stageexplorations.com. Once again, that is www.stageexplorations.com. There is no space between stage and explorations. You may find more videos, podcasts, and information about this theater creative and other theater creatives and artists on Stage Explorations YouTube channel. Looking forward to seeing you in the theater.
For more information on where to find MGM in concert or to book MGM in concert for a private event, make sure to visit our website at www.p3theater.biz. For more information on where to find MGM in concert or to book MGM in concert for a private event, make sure to visit our website at www.p3theater.biz. For more information on where to find MGM in concert or to book MGM in concert for a private event, make sure to visit our website at www.p3theater.biz. For more information on where to find MGM in concert or to book MGM in concert for a private event, make sure to visit our website at www.p3theater.biz.